Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Never Mind the Bible, streaming via the Secret Wealth Project Facebook group and also the Never Mind the Bible YouTube channel. Tonight, I am joined by the legendary Tim Jordan. Good evening, Tim. How are you?
Not legendary at all, but I'm good.
You are definitely. I showed you some of the messages I got earlier. I think it's one of the only times where people were sending me messages saying, wow, Tim's going to be a great guest. How did you get him? You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely living up to the hype, 100%.
And the answer is Natalie's charming personality. That's how you got me. Natalie called with that great British accent and said, Tim, please come on and just tell us something. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Okay. Let's say hello to everyone that's joining. We'll just wait for a few minutes. Actually, can I just double check before we get started? Can everybody see and hear us okay? That's always the housekeeping that I failed to check until about 20 minutes in, realized that there's a problem. So Cindy's here, Susan, she's messing around already. Callum, Ruth, Jamie, evening, everyone. A bit of a delay on StreamYard, so we'll just wait a couple of minutes before we jump on. So just in the comments, guys, because obviously it was Easter weekend last weekend, so I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter weekend. You included, Tim. So just want to get a feel for how is everyone having a bit of a chocolate hangover sales-wise? Because I know that in this last couple of weeks, we were all experiencing major bumper seasonal sales. So let me know in the comments, how are sales going since the post kind of Easter extravaganza, for want of a better word. So what is it like in the US selling Easter seasonal goods there? Is it pretty mad? Because it's pretty mad here.
Yeah, and it definitely depends on what you're selling. I mean, if I'm selling just everyday consumables, it's not going to change. But there is definitely a buying holiday that happens, because this isn't just Easter. This is like the beginning of the outdoor season, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're selling anything that's gardening or outdoor toys or like hiking, camping, like anything that's outdoors, we really start to see the items start to increase. And for those that are resellers, it's also an amazing opportunity, because everybody wants to have a basket from the Easter Bunny, but everybody's too lazy to put one together. So I know groups of people that just start arbitraging a month before Easter and build the most ridiculous Easter baskets you've ever seen and make ridiculous amounts of money over like a 1 week period. So Easter is kind of fun for that. Also, in the US, we get crazy about certain foods, right? Like, as an example, I don't drink black coffee. I like the frou-frou coffee creamers, right? The flavored stuff. Yeah. And my mother-in-law is in love with the peppermint mocha brand coffee or flavored coffee creamer that only comes out in like Christmas time. So she buys like 40 bottles and freezes it and uses it all year. Well, the same thing happens at Easter. We have only available around Easter. So I know of people that go and buy pallets of Easter specific candy and then sell it on Amazon year round, because when people want their little yellow peeps and you can't buy them at the store, you can only buy them on Amazon. So Easter is a very, very odd time when it comes to selling on Amazon in the US. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. It's like there's a lot of crazy going on today. And Susan's commented, we there's just a lot of crazy going on with everything at the moment. But we're exactly the same here. We have these little things called like mini eggs and Cadbury's cream eggs that are only available for like 3 months of the year. And I think you can get Cadbury's cream eggs for a little bit longer now. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's like anything. And it's like we were saying, Cara said she sold a few Easter eggs today. People just love Easter eggs. Easter, they appear in our shops here probably a couple of days after Christmas ends. And the sales on Amazon just start going crazy in sort of late January, early February or something like that, and carry on through. And, for anyone that's got Easter eggs left, don't worry, they will still sell 100%. Who doesn't love Easter eggs? I mean, they're amazing. I'd eat them all year round if I could, definitely. Right, before we dive in, so let's just say hello to a few more people, and then we will talk all things selling private label. all things selling on the US with Tim. So hi Cara, hi Fiona, hi Ray. Everyone can see and hear us all right, which is good. Would have been in trouble by then. Paulina, Luke says he eats cream eggs all year round. Love them. Definitely. So it's good to know. It's good to know that there's some similar seasonal trends. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to cover tonight, which we'll come on and talk about a little bit more in detail a bit later on. Is I think that there's a lot of misconceptions that selling in the US and selling in the UK are massively different. And yes, there are some differences, of course. But selling on Amazon's Amazon at the end of the day. It's a global platform. But before we kind of dive into that, Natalie's joining us from Cornwall. Evening, Chi. Before we dive into that, obviously our audience and in this group is predominantly online arbitrage. So Tim and I have talked about this previously. And so you're more on the private label side of things. So what I wanted to do was have the opportunity to bring you on here, talk about the private label side. So it's like a double whammy, really. Talk about the US and talk about the private label side of things, because there's a lot of people that have been selling arbitrage for quite a while, and especially on Amazon. And I think because we've not really had anyone in the group that's talked about private label and also talking about the US as well. And recently I've just started both, and people starting to think, oh, okay, this sounds kind of interesting. What's going on here? Because I think the majority of people do look at private label like the Me Too kind of Chinese products and that type of thing, whereas that's changed massively in the last few years on Amazon. So by bringing Tim in, guys, I wanted you to be able to see things done in a slightly different way and what I think is the right way to do private label as well. But before we get started and kind of jumping into all that, if you could kind of let everyone know a bit about yourself, introduce yourself and what you were doing previously, because I don't actually think I know this before discovering Amazon, and how you got involved in Amazon and where you started, if that's okay.
Well, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be on a webinar talking to people anywhere else in the world, I would have told you were crazy. I was a full-time firefighter and paramedic. That's what I was doing. In about 2015, I was doing some side jobs because we would work 24-hour shifts. So we'd work one day and then be off for 2 days. In our off time, we just did stuff, right? We had side hustles and side jobs. And I was actually working with procurement for a U.S. government contract, really weird, but I was buying and shipping stuff all over the world for U.S. consulates and embassies, of all things. And I had these great wholesale contacts, and I would Google like a part number and see that it would be much cheaper on my price list than it would be selling for on Amazon. And I didn't know that you could sell on Amazon. So I actually put out an ad online on Craigslist, of all things, and said, hey, I need someone to help teach me how to sell on eBay, because I thought this is where you sell stuff online. Mm-hmm. And I had some random guy show up to my office to teach me how to sell on eBay. And he looked at my price list, said, no, you need to start selling on Amazon. I said, I didn't know you could do this. So he started walking me through it. And we started loading up all sorts of stuff. It was all wholesale. I started selling arbitrage. I don't know if you knew this, Natalie. That's how I got started, was reselling. So I was doing retail arbitrage. I was doing online arbitrage. I was doing wholesale. And in just sales at about a 30% profit margin, which is huge. I thought this is great. But I started running into some of the issues that all of you encounter, right? There's a lot of competition. You can't control the pricing because other people can come in and tank you. Your supply chain might not always be there. You might run out of this stuff and not be able to get it. If you're selling a lot, you have 3,000 SKUs, which is hard to manage. And the other thing that I started thinking about was the volatility. All right, what happens if Amazon changes their rules? Right, I'm building all of this business, but I'm building the business for Amazon and for the brand owners, but I'm not building it for myself because there's not an actual asset that I'm building. And you guys have seen that with Brexit, right? When Brexit happened, it's like, boom, everything's slowed down. There's nothing you can do about it. So I started getting really interested in figuring out how to build my own equitable brands, right? And I started the Me Too stuff. I call it the Jungle Scout method.
Oh, the sticks. Was it the sticks with Jungle Scout, I think?
No, I just mean the Jungle Scout method that they teach.
Right.
Go on to Amazon and find what other people are selling and sell that too. Right? It sounded too easy. And I got in a situation where I was selling products. Let's see if I have any. Here's one of my first Amazon products, private label products. It's a emergency hammer, right? To break out the glass in your car, like if you need to break out the glass. So I was finding stuff that people were selling well. And I thought, well, I could sell this myself. So I'd set up listings and I wouldn't sell it. And it's because they were all Me Too products. They were products that everybody was selling. And I was just competing with the same people. And I got really stubborn. And I said, there's got to be a way to make this work, because so many people, like you see them in the message groups and the Facebook groups say, oh, private label's so tough, everything's saturated. Well, it's because we're all doing it the same way. So I started thinking outside the box of how can I find a product that is going to be in demand with no competition? What are people looking for that's not offered? And I had to start looking off of Amazon to find products that people were looking for, and then find which one of those products were not listed on Amazon and be the first to take an Amazon. And it really kickstarted things for me. So I started succeeding really well at private label. I was launching all sorts of brands, not even knowing what I was doing. This is now like 2016. I'm just throwing stuff up and it's going crazy. Then I started a shipping and sourcing company. So I set up an office with a partner in Shanghai, China. We set up a full sourcing company, shipping company, inspection company, and we set up 3PL warehouses in the U.S. and started shipping other people's stuff for them and sourcing other people's stuff. And I set up a whole company doing that. And it was amazing because I learned so much, because I would see what items were stuck in the warehouse and people couldn't sell. And I'd see what items were hard to ship, what items were hard to source. And I started picking up little like patterns, like what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I operated that company for a couple of years, and for marketing it, I was just producing content. So I would go to conferences to speak. And well, it turns out I'm not very good at running a shipping and logistics and sourcing company, but I am good at thinking outside the box and teaching people how I do that. So in about 2019, I had to transition that company from like a physical services company to doing consulting, training, teaching, putting out content in a non-scammy way. I don't even have a course. I just do it through other venues, which I think are more real time. And being involved in this ecosystem has allowed me to see what works and what doesn't. So like, I'm not some genius. I just get this crazy bird's eye view of what's happening, and I'm able to like pull out little bits and pieces. Well, starting in late 2019, service companies started coming to me, like some of the big companies in the industry, saying, Tim, we love the way you think outside the box. Come consult for us. So now I've consulted with big logistics companies, financial technology companies, some of the software companies that you guys use, I've actually worked with as an executive strategist. And now I don't know what to do with all this knowledge except for just to share it, because I've been blessed enough to be exposed to like all aspects of this crazy world. And it's awesome, because as other people are getting discouraged and thinking, oh, selling online, it's over. Oh, selling private label doesn't work. Like every day I get to see people absolutely crushing it in ways that nobody's talking about on large format. And every day new opportunities open up. And I still think it's an amazing, amazing, amazing time to be an entrepreneur using e-commerce. So there's like the 4-minute version of my history.
Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot within the 4 minutes, definitely. And I think it's really interesting what you say. And it's only when you get the privilege, and this is a privilege, you know, doing this type of thing, 100%. I've always said that. It's only when you get the opportunity to be able to speak to so many different sellers and converse with so many different people that you really do get this really broad view of selling on Amazon in particular, because it is such a massive marketplace with you know, so many different selling models in. And, you know, when I actually sit down and think about it, I do actually think, wow, it's so overwhelming for so many people. And I can see why, even if in a particular area, someone's not doing particularly well, that they could be a little bit, you know, shy to be able to step into a different type of market, because it's huge. You know, it's a massive learning curve, essentially.
I'm actually going to disagree with that.
Feel free.
It's not a massive learning curve for this audience, and I'll tell you why. I have a lot of people that get into my group, or I somehow speak with or get engaged with, that are just getting started. And I love the idea of creating a brand and selling online, but it's very daunting because there's so many steps for them to learn. You know, how do I even set up an account? How do I set up my business entity? How do I manage the Amazon platform? How do I do this and this and this and this? And you know what I tell people oftentimes if they're just getting stuck? I say, go to Walmart, go to the Dollar General store and buy something and resell it on Amazon. Even if you're not going to make money, even if you just break even, It will help you get to the process of setting up a shipment, figuring out what a listing is, right? Like overcome these hurdles that are really, really daunting. And what's interesting about an audience like this that's familiar with it is you're already halfway there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like a misconception.
It's amazing. Yeah. So like it's not as daunting as people think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I think that a lot of the content out there does not lend itself to accuracy. So here's what I mean. A lot of the content out there is, it's super easy. Pay me $10,000, I'll get you a store set up. Or they're making it seem too easy. We know that's a bunch of bull crap. Or a lot of people come out and say, oh, it's really, really difficult. You have to buy my course and I'll unlock the secrets for you. So we're inundated with all this content that is usually based on some sort of motivating factor. When here's all we're doing. All right. For those of you that are online arbitragers, right? You're going to somebody else's shelf and pulling something off of it and putting it on another shelf. That's all you're doing. All right. If you're a retail arbitrager, you're physically pulling it off, shipping it to Amazon's shelf. If you're an online arbitrager, you're pulling it off of one website, moving it over and putting it on the shelf of another website. But when we're actually creating our own brands, half of that is the same thing. We're just putting our stuff on somebody else's shelf. Mm-hmm. We're just pulling it from somewhere else. We're pulling it from a factory. We're pulling it from maybe a wholesaler that allows us to white label. The steps are the same. It's just the locations are different. Some of the things like in arbitrage, you know, people say, oh, arbitrage is so much easier because the listing's already created. Well, I can tell you when I did a lot of arbitrage and wholesale, that was a nightmare. The listings are already created, but they've already got other people listing on it. You can't make changes. You've got pricing issues. It's its whole set of problems. What if you just set the listing up once, you built your own traffic and you owned 100% of it, right? So it's not any more work than arbitrage. It's just slightly different. Like it's just a small little deviation. But those of you that are selling online already, you're already halfway or more than halfway there figuring out this whole thing.
Absolutely. I think anyone that's starting out, you know, if anyone comes into the group, anyone comes into the Secret Wealth Project and say, look, private label versus arbitrage, thinking of starting both, first thing we will always say to them is just do arbitrage. Get to know Amazon, get to know the processes, get to know how to ship in those products, get to know this, get to know that. And I think it's only from experiencing it myself, just, you know, I've been selling on Amazon for 6 years. And this is a step I've only made in the last 2 months, you know, started in January. Products didn't go live until March. And whilst I don't ever have any regrets or anything like that, it's important, I think, not to have regrets. It's always, you know, learning experiences. I'm kicking myself thinking, why didn't I do it sooner? Why didn't I do it sooner? And I mean, I'm a believer in the right place at the right time and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I've just built up this massive thing in my head that it's super complicated. It's going to be like learning a new language. And, you know, in reality, you are our closest cousins, essentially, in terms of language and our buying habits and all of these different types of things. Yeah. And it just makes sense. And do you know what I absolutely love, which I never, one of the side effects, which I never realized before, is always having this thing about selling on Amazon. For some reason, we don't tend to sell overnight on Amazon. Whereas when you sell in the US, guys, you get 24-hour sales because you sell on the UK during our time. And then when you go to sleep, you're getting your US sales in, which is you're literally making money while you sleep, which I know is a bit cheesy and, you know, the old kind of typical infomercials and things like that. But it's so, so true. So I can completely speak firsthand from that point of view of just massively overthinking it.
Yeah. And I like what you said about we're cousins. You know, we're not exactly the same because, you know, well, really the only big difference between the US and the UK is we celebrate the 4th of July. All right. Sorry. If half of you aren't laughing at that, then we can't. That's fine. No, but you're right. There are so many people around the world that are succeeding at selling products online on Amazon. And they did have to overcome the language barrier and the cultural differences and all these huge issues. And really, if you're in the UK and if you're British or English at all, like it doesn't have to be in Britain, but anywhere, right? You understand us. Like you understand what keywords are going to be useful. You understand how to market. You understand how to sell. Like half of the job is done because we are essentially the same culture, really. Except there's 300 million of us, right? So
Yeah.
it is a lot bigger market. So putting in the effort here potentially has a lot stronger ramifications. I see people asking questions, stuff like, is private label dead?
Yeah, Hayden's asked, he gets put off PL because I think what it is there were so many like clickbaity kind of videos on YouTube, sort of saying, oh, PL is dead. And then when you get in, they're trying to sell your course at the end of the, at the end of the video, essentially. So, is it nonsense?
It is not. Well, it's not necessarily nonsense. I think it's misdirected. And let me explain what I mean. What is private label? Right?
Oh, yeah.
I won't make you answer that because then I'm going to make fun of you for a wrong answer. Because the point is there's not a right answer. There's 50 right answers. The first time I heard the term private label, I was at a small Amazon conference in Seattle. And we're sitting around this round table like at lunchtime or something and just asking people questions. And some lady said, what is private label? And this guy got all excited. He said, I'll tell you what private label is. It's when you go to Alibaba and you buy something in a blank box and you put your label on it and sell it on Amazon. And I wanted to jump across this table and slap this guy because I didn't have it all figured out, but I knew he was wrong. That wasn't private label. Like private label has a ton of different meanings. I have people that do like merch by Amazon, the print on demand.
Yeah.
Guys, that's private label. I know people that are bundling wholesale products and creating new ASINs. That is largely private label, right? Now, if I look at private label from 2016, 2017, I could put anything on Amazon and it would sell. It was too easy. I tell people my crude joke is I could put a brown paper bag full of cat turds on Amazon and somebody would buy it. Like it was that easy, right? So what you're seeing are a lot of people putting out content based on what did work for them. So if they come on a webinar and they say, oh, I grew my business from $0 to $2 million a year in 2 years doing this. Were they wrong by giving you that content? No, because it did work. Is the content still relevant? No. So what you're seeing is not necessarily a lot of malicious content, but you're seeing a lot of outdated content. And then you see the reviews from that. People getting in Facebook groups. I tried this. I took this course. I followed this process. I followed viral launches, success secrets, and it just didn't work. I just lost all my money. I got beat up. That doesn't mean that private label's broken. It means that the type of private label that other people are sharing that worked 2 or 3 years ago is broken, right? Creating a product that people want and selling it is never going away.
No,
it's not. Every day, there are still people succeeding in selling paper plates and toilet paper and tennis shoes. Is Nike and Reebok and Adidas dominant in tennis shoes? Yes, but there's still a time and place for other brands of tennis shoes. I've fallen in love with a new brand called Ultra. I'd never heard of it till 2 months ago, and I've got like 2 pairs now. I'm not saying you should sell tennis shoes, but my point is the world's always going to evolve and change to a point where people want something new. People want something different. There's always a better product. There's always a differentiator, and things are just going to change. So to succeed at private label, we don't need to go follow the leader. We need to follow the Jungle Scout method, so to speak, and see what other people are doing well and trying to replicate them and just make it a hair better. But we can get ahead of the game and figure out what people want, what's not being offered, be the first to offer it, be the first to do it well, and then own the market, right? And also fly a little bit below the radar. For some of you, you've mentioned watching Project X. This will be a little bit review to you, but I think people get really, really excited about these high volume products, these people that are selling $500,000 a month in these products. I don't want any of that stuff. What I want are products that sell 20 or 30 units a day and nobody notices it, and I've got no competition and my profit margin's high because I can command the price and I just fly under the radar. And I'd rather have 10 products like that to make $1 million in sales than one product at 2% margin with black hat hackers, attacking my listing all the time and doing, negative review campaigns against me to get the same $1 million in sales. No, we just have to change the way that we do things. And there's still massive, massive, massive amounts of opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you've just hit the nail on the head in terms of, that change, that shift in Amazon. Actually, why I've got you here, when that shift went from being able to sell anything in 2016 to it becoming more kind of customer centric, and there was this shift between the kind of Me Too products and having to kind of build a brand more on Amazon. do you think that that was Amazon that was responsible for that, or do you think that that was more the audience changing, the Amazon customer base changing?
All of the above. I think it was a little bit of everything. There are a lot of changes that Amazon had to make, right? And they had to make it because of like legal requirements. Like it used to be, you could do anything to get a review. You could buy reviews, and Amazon stopped that. That was actually the U.S. government that stopped that as a consumer protection device. Like basically, we can't misconstrue things to the consumers, right? There was also just a need. There was a need for all the cheap crap out there in the world. There was a need for these. But once 20 people started selling these, it kind of became saturated for those items. There was also a lack of training based on a lack of experience. This is all brand new. So one of those changes was the easy way of doing things kind of filled up, and then everybody hit a wall. Like, now what do we do? So the innovative thought process had to go out, like the idea that I talked about of selling keywords and not products. I don't sell a product on keyword or on Amazon. I don't sell a product. I sell a keyword. Yeah. And like little changes like that started happening. In addition to that, I do think that people that are shopping on Amazon started to expect something different, right? They wanted to start like experiencing brands. They wanted to start seeing brand stories. They wanted to start seeing loyalty. They wanted some of the features like subscribe and save, which is repeat purchasing for consumables. They started expecting to see higher quality items, right? So I think the changes came from all sides, but it created a unique opportunity for people that weren't lazy to have exceptional amounts of growth by stepping outside the box a little bit, doing things a little bit more traditionally, and not thinking of selling on Amazon as a life hack and a get rich quick scheme, but thinking of themselves as building a legitimate business. Now, what's happened since then is the rewards have started flowing in, because 2017, 2018, people weren't buying Amazon businesses. They just weren't. No. Now that these businesses are starting to mature and we're starting to build things that are an actual asset, that actually have crossover and stop becoming platform agnostic, or start becoming platform agnostic, meaning they're not just Amazon products. We could build our own websites. We can sell them on Catch. We can sell them on Chewy. We can sell them on Walmart.com. We can sell them on Target.com is coming out, by the way, for third-party sellers now. Wow. Yeah, big news. And the value started adding up, and now investment banking is actually turned on to this. So we saw it first with Thrasio. They were the first, they were the fastest company to hit $1 billion valuation. And I have a few problems with Thrasio we can talk about maybe offline, but it was interesting because when that happened, it got everybody's attention and realized, hey, there are businesses to build and, make into a portfolio and then make them more efficient and then, increase productivity. And I know people that got into this by accident 2 years ago and are making multi-million-dollar exits. Mm-hmm. If any of you want to hear an interesting story, look up, let me find what episode it was. So I host a podcast called the AM/PM podcast, which all of you should hopefully follow. And I interviewed one of my friends. Her name is Lori Barzy. Let me find what episode number it is, because this is really crazy. It is episode 199. So AM/PM podcast. Going back to what you said, Natalie, you can make money in the AM and the PM.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. It's like we knew.
Yeah, episode 199. She made a foot pumice. All right. Her own little foot pumice with essential oils. And she finally came out publicly last week and said she sold it for $2.3 million.
Wow. And do you know what? That is so cool, because this is what we were talking about in the group earlier when I made the announcement that you were going to be coming on with the link and everything tonight. I can't remember who made the comment and said about, I think it was Tez actually. Tez said, well, you can maybe think about selling a private label brand, can't you? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because with online arbitrage, and by the way, we're not bashing online arbitrage or anything like that. I think it is a phenomenal opportunity. However, what you can't do with online arbitrage is you can't sell an online arbitrage account. It's not a business because you don't own anything of that business. You're a reseller. You're selling other people's products, other people's brands, and you don't have a physical premises. So it's not like you can sell a shop or anything like that. And there's no guarantees. Whereas if you do manage to go ahead and do this type of opportunity and you picked up on it 100, the people that are making these multi-million pound, it's happening here in the UK as well, guys, multi-million pound dollar or multi-million pound exits within their business are people just like us, not the Bill Gates of the world and people that have started out with, huge amount of money. I think it's not unreasonable to say I know dozens and dozens of people that have started this business with like 500 quid at the end of the day, and they're literally turning over hundreds of thousands with what they've managed to build their businesses. So that's a really interesting point. And one of the OA versus private label kind of arguments. So when you left reselling, did you leave it completely and then move fully into private label, or did you continue to do both?
Yeah, and I was going to say that to me, it's not reselling or private label; it's reselling and private label, right? And to this day, I still have wholesale products. There's a product that I love fishing, right? I love sport fishing, and I recently found a brand that has this patented product. I can't replicate it, I can't reproduce it, and they don't have a clue how to digitally market this thing, but it's flying off the shelves. So I went to them and said, hey, I want to be the distributor. And I kept their brand. I loaded it in my account. I have a contract for exclusive rights to this. For all intents and purposes, it's a private label, right? Because I own all of the online sellability of it under contract, right? So I think there's always opportunities. But to your point, and again, I'm not beating up on reselling, but if you are going to be putting in the work, I would venture to say that you can put in the same amount of work and effort and build something that is not just a quick flip. You can build something that does have value. And that was my point of like, Amazon, has it got more complicated? Yes. It's got more complex. It's not more complicated. It's more complex. All the pieces are easy. There's just more pieces, but it's worth it. Because now that it's become more mature, now that it's not as easy for everybody to rip you off and replicate you, and there are methods to finding unique opportunities and building brands, the payout is massive. Now, Lori, my friend, she was making money every day selling her foot pumices. But the real payout was when she got $2.3 million at the back end of this, and now she can go out and start 3 or 4 more brands, right? That's huge.
Once you got the knowledge, you can just rinse and repeat.
Exactly. So I think that now is the time to do it. And my point about like the investment banking, when they get into this, it's because they realize that there is money to be made here. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. This isn't a life hack. This isn't just a bunch of digital marketers out there saying, oh, it's great, follow our stuff. No, they're out there proving, the investment bankers are proving that this is legitimate wealth building. And that's what this is. I talk all the time about why I work as much as I do. And guys, I work a lot. I've got so many different projects going. I've got multiple brands, multiple businesses selling products. I'm doing a Kickstarter thing this year. I consult for multiple companies in the space. I even have a full-time position with a company called Sellers Funding, which which I think is the leading fintech company for e-com in the world. So I'm doing a lot, but it's not because I love necessarily doing that. I do like it, but my love is to create stability for my family. Like that's why I do it. I grew up super poor, and I don't want my kids to have to worry about getting 1 pair of tennis shoes a year, which is what I got when I was little, right? And if I'm thinking about how to fulfill that need in my life, that stability, that reassurance, like I'm shopping for a beach house right now. Folks, 5 years ago, I never would have expected to be buying potentially $1 million house on the beach. Like that's for real.
Wow.
And if I'm thinking about that end goal in mind and how I need to get there fast, or I need to get there stably, or I need to get there easiest, guys, it's e-com. I'm not talking about e-com because I picked it. I'm talking about e-com because it works, right? And I do strongly believe that sometimes we get tunnel vision in what we do. I do it too. I constantly see myself private label, private label, private label, private label, when I also need to be thinking about affiliate marketing because it's an add-on. Or we start thinking about arbitrage, and we put this giant moat around our own minds and say we can't do something else because this is all we know. You don't realize you know 80% of this. right? But if you do take that extra step to learn a little bit more, then you act, which is hopefully what we're all trying to do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about introducing that to the guys in the Secret Wealth Project as well. Like I said, predominantly an arbitrage audience, and they're so close. They're already so far along in their journeys. And don't get me wrong, we have some massive arbitrage sellers here. You know, 7-figure sellers, 8-figure sellers, and things like that, who have done it through reselling. But there's also this other side of Amazon as well, like I said, that we've all been really wary of for so long. But now that we've introduced you guys to Tim, and I told you it was good, you know, I told you if I was going to bring someone in to talk about this stuff, it was definitely going to be the best. And, you know, and to do things a bit differently, and to have those different kind of starting points, because it always used to be, as I understood private label, because I massively looked into private label when I first started selling, and decided to go down the arbitrage route because there were too many unknowns. There were too many. I'm not risk averse, but I like to mitigate risk as much as possible. So arbitrage was definitely for me. And what I learned about private label at the start, which I think is something that's changed, is we were always told that only Amazon customers, they know exactly what they want and they don't deviate from that. And they don't do this. They want exactly this and they want something. Well, actually, that is the opposite of true. It's just a massive search engine.
It is. And let me talk about your hesitancy to step into different waters, right? This is an example I've used before. Sorry if any of you heard this, but I have an example of a cliff at the ocean, right? It is easy if we walk up to a cliff and we want to go swimming in the ocean to follow the crowd. If this part of the cliff over here has a line of 100 people and everybody's jumping and they're landing in the water and they're smiling and they're happy and they're obviously enjoying themselves and they climb back out and do it again, are you more likely to go get in that line or go jump off of a cliff over here, a piece of the cliff that nobody's jumping on? That's scary, right? Maybe the water's shallow. Maybe there's sharks there. Maybe there's an undertow that's going to suck you under. Everybody's doing this. It must be safe. And the same thing happens with selling online, because the biggest fear or the biggest risk is that we buy a bunch of inventory and nobody wants it. Nobody buys it. We set up a listing and it's dead. But we can look at somebody else's listing. All right. So I'm speaking to you arbitragers and resellers and wholesalers. And you can pull the data. You know exactly how many sales are happening. So yeah, you're getting in line with potentially 100 other people, but it's safe. Yeah. Because they are making sales, and you know that people are buying that brand, and you know that you will move inventory even if you have to be a few cents cheaper than everybody else, right? It's scary to walk over here and do your own thing. But what if you could test that water? What if you knew how deep that water was? What if you knew there weren't sharks there? What if you knew that that was a better cliff to be jumping off? And that's actually, I think, where the big epiphany came for me, was I figured out how to test the waters. So I started learning processes, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly because it sounds really arrogant, but I think that I was really instrumental in actually generating some of these. They're becoming more mainstream processes now for finding potential and testing them, so that we can be the first one to jump off this product cliff, but we know what the water's like below. So we're minimizing that risk, but I completely understand it. I mean, I understand that because we're humans, you know, it's easy to follow the leader because it seems safer, but it's not always best.
No, absolutely. Although I do kind of agree with Susan's point. She said she'd push her husband off first and see how he does.
Nice.
Yeah, that's definitely the good for that. Right, we've got some questions, if that's all right with you, Tim. Some pre-questions that we asked earlier on, just to run through a few things, because like I said, definitely everyone in the Secret Wealth Project, we don't have many private labelers, so you know, first chance to ask some serious questions. And actually, just before I go into those, I think I just want to check I didn't miss any on the comments so far. Oh yeah, Callum's asked this, and I don't know if you will know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So to sell in the US from the UK, are you better to go with a US company or go from your UK limited company? Is that sufficient? And you know what we talked about earlier, sort of US tech.
I see this question come up, especially in my coaching group all the time, because I have a lot of people that are in the UK. Start a U.S. entity. It is not hard. You start a U.S. entity in a state like Delaware. It's super, super simple. And that way you actually are setting up a US based company that's going to be easier to transfer later, right? So if we're talking about building something to sell, it makes it simpler. Everybody worries about the accounting. Don't worry about the accounting. Hire an accountant. There's a company called Zendu, XE. I think it's like $70 a month, and they do all your bookkeeping, right? You don't have to know that stuff. You can outsource that. But definitely, if you're going to be selling in the US and building a brand here, set up a US company, because it will eliminate a lot of the hurdles for importing and eliminate a lot of the hurdles for tax receiving, tax collecting when it comes to sales tax in certain states. It's all very, very simple things. It's just a lot of them stacked up, and it's much easier if you have a US entity.
Okay, that's fine. So the simplest answer is, just like we do here, guys. Like I said, it just completely mirrors. Most of you guys don't fill out your own VAT returns. You don't do your own bookkeeping and things like that. We hire someone to do that. So we'll be able to do that the same in the US as well. Absolutely. So, right, let's just have a quick look. Simona asked how long you've been doing PL and how that's changed over the years, but I think you've sort of covered that already. And again, were you brand building from the start? Again, you said no, you've got your hammer to prove it. So no, absolutely. Okay, so this is a big question. Do you use Jungle Scout or Helium 10 for product research as everyone else, or are you still using that approach?
So there is not a single tool that will do all the research for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's not a magic button. There's not a magic wand you can wave or a crystal ball you can look into. And that's a good thing, because if it was that easy, everybody would do it and we'd all be running after the same opportunities. What I do is I find opportunities that are not on Amazon. And most of these software companies are only scraping Amazon. They're only pulling data from Amazon. So I have an approach where I look off of Amazon for opportunities, but then I use Helium 10 to help validate the demand. Okay. I never use a tool to say, oh, this is a great product, or no, it's not, because there's too many variables. But I will use it to do search volume research. How many people are looking for a specific keyword? And I use it as a shortcut, like for quick references. I'm scanning through competition analysis and stuff like that. Nearly the only tool I use that's Amazon focused is Helium 10. I think they're by far the best. But I don't use them for everything, because there's a lot of research that I have to do off site. I'll give a secret that I don't normally tell, Natalie. I do a lot of research on Etsy, because Etsy is about 9 months ahead of Amazon as far as trends in specific product categories. And there's an amazing tool for Etsy called Marmalade, Marmalead, I think, Marmalade.
That's good spelling, because I would not know how to spell marmalade.
Dude, I probably misspelled it anyways. I'm really bad about misspelling. But so I use Marmalade to help me sort search traffic and trends in Etsy. And then I take those opportunities and cross-reference to Amazon to see if something is trending on Etsy that's not trending on Amazon yet. And then I get there first. But then I'll use Helium 10 to actually validate the data that I found in Marmalade and Etsy for Amazon. So I do it a little outside the box. So there's not really a short answer like, oh, go use Zong Tools or go use Jungle Scout or go use Helium 10, because, again, it's a little more complicated than that. But I love it, because if it were easy, every idiot out there would be doing it. Right?
No, absolutely. And I think, you just given a massive gold nugget, by the way. I consider myself pretty clued up on Amazon, even on the bundling sort of gray private label area side of things. But I have never, ever heard of the software Marmalade. I use Pinterest and that type of thing for validating and looking at different trends and things like that. But I wasn't aware that there was any type of software. And I suppose that's the other thing.
Natalie, can I pause for just a second?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
This is my delivery driver.
I'll carry on talking.
Hello? Hi.
I just explained to everyone, Tim was waiting for quite a large delivery, which he thought it was going to happen before this. So he's just going to have to... hopefully I'll come back on. We will wait and see. Hayden says he switched to YouTube just to keep me on my toes. Absolutely. Okay.
No, now he's calling back. Hold on.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. Right. Let's just have a quick look and have a quick look through the comments. So Simona says, that's great. I was searching through Etsy the other day for bundle ideas. And that's the thing about this type of I suppose opportunity, is because you can look at all these different sources to get so many different ideas. Amazon, in terms of the way, hopefully when Tim comes back, be able to, confirm this, is actually a little bit far behind in terms of once the products land on Amazon. There's a lot of products that don't actually appear on Amazon to start with. They actually, appear in other places and different areas and things like that.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I was just saying that I think it's a little bit, and you're definitely one of the first people that I heard talking about this, was saying that actually when it comes to trends and things like that, Amazon's quite far behind in terms of the other off-site platforms and things like that, which you think of Amazon as this massive kind of innovative company, but actually they're a little bit far behind.
And it's because Amazon sellers are selling what people are already buying, right? I think this is going to change in 5 years, but if it's a new trend and it's not already on Amazon, why would somebody else list it on Amazon? Unless you're crazy like me, right? But also Amazon is a search engine, all right? And the search engine is based on largely favoring historical searches. So it's not actually leaning towards innovation, right? So if you look at Google's getting a little bit better, but if you type a topic, you're going to see a blog from 3 years ago before you'll see a blog from yesterday. Now, this is an amazing opportunity because people are still searching for those items. So even though it's not trending on Amazon, it's still increasing. The demand is still increasing. So what that means is the software is going to be even slower to pick up on it and catch those trends, which gives us opportunity to slide in there and make it happen.
Absolutely. And do you find once you are in that pole position, you're the trendsetter, you see other people then employing the kind of Me Too, but there's so much you can do now.
Not always. I've got products that I sell 30 or 40 units a day, and I've been the only seller for 3 years.
Wow.
And it's because I found an opportunity that the software is not catching. That because even think, I'm a small minority. We are a small minority of the sellers. I mean, there's a ton of sellers out there, especially Chinese sellers, and they're just going to go after the same methods that were taught to them long ago, which is find something that's selling 800 units a day across 20 sellers and slide in there. So my stuff is not as attractive to them, but it's attractive to me because I can command the price that I want. I don't have to deal with all the bull crap. I'm not having to ship 20 containers a year. I can ship 6 containers a year of that product and still make the same amount of money at the end of the year because the profit margin is so much higher. So it's actually a good thing that it's not easily replicatable.
No, absolutely. And I think that that's the thing. I've always tried to take the approach, and certainly any of the teachings that I've done, it's better to have, that smaller slice of the pie, to be the smaller fish in the big pond, as opposed to trying to get the biggest piece of the pie, because there's going to be so much fierce competition going after that. And what is acceptable to us all day long? I would rather have 20 products selling 10 a day than I would have one product selling 200 a day, because it's not it is sustainable, but it can be incredibly stressful. Imagine if there were shipping delays on that product. It would just drive you absolutely nuts to be able to see, and I understand why people get so stressed out about this type of thing. But you can bet your life, guys, if you're trying to source for a product that's selling 800 units a day, or is doing this or doing that, you've got to sell a lot of units to be able to touch the side, to be able to rank for that product at the end of the day. With high sales comes high competition. I know that's not always the case, because there can be, some real gems out there that after you put the love and attention and everything into the brand, into the brand and into the listing and into the keyword research and things like that as well. Again, that's the other thing, because Amazon is doing more and more to protect sellers now against kind of Chinese hijackers and that type of thing, and the Me Too products. I think certainly from the brand name policy that Amazon has introduced over the last kind of 6 months to a year, they're making it absolutely clear that they want this type of customer focused driven selling. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of people complain that things are changing. Oh, we can't get the reviews bought anymore. Oh, we can't easily manipulate page placement. We can't do this. And I love it. Every time someone complains about something, I'm doing a little chubby boy happy dance to myself because it means that we have to be legitimate. They're just legitimizing it. And the truth is, when it becomes more difficult or more complex, more people are just going to give up. And that's great, because I don't mind putting in a little extra work because I know that the long-term rewards are high, right? I don't want it to be easy. I want it to be hard. I don't want it to be something that somebody with more money can come in and just outbid me on everything. No, I want to be able to slide in with better research and figure out the keywords to target that no one's even noticing. I want to figure out how to do little things in my listings like brand registry and enhanced brand content to figure out how do I actually make retentive customers and have customer retention where they keep coming back to my brand, right? Because I want to have an eight figure 2 years. I'm starting a brand right now, a brand new brand that is fishing accessories. All right. Mm-hmm. And I found so many products in like these sport fishing accessories that no one even realizes is out there that are flying off of shelves in retail stores and nobody's selling them online. I'm the first one to do it. And my objective is in 24 months to sell this thing for $10 million.
Wow.
You know how much money we're starting out with, Natalie? And I'm not stupid. Like, I know the math on this. We're starting with $10,000. That's it.
Wow.
So people that think you have to have $50,000 to start private label, no. Go back and watch the Project X series I did with Helium 10. It's free on YouTube. We started off with, I think, $3,500. Mm-hmm. And in a year, kind of half-assing it, we did like $190,000 in sales at a 31% profit margin. That's it. Like, there's no other secret to it except you just have to find the right products to sell. So,
and that's what I was going to ask, actually. That's what I was definitely going to ask about the private label side of things, because we see the posts out there. I see it in, Helium 10 group and things like that. When you get people jumping on there, it's one of the most commonly asked questions. How much do I need to be able to sell private label on Amazon? And you get loads of people jumping on saying, you can't do it under 20 grand. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's the same with arbitrage. You get people saying, you need 10 grand for arbitrage now, which is so not true. I see people starting every day with like £500 and, making a huge success out of it. What other business can you do that online? I don't think you can.
That's like asking somebody what color is best. Mm-hmm. There's a million answers. So how much money do you need to start private label? Well, there's 500 ways to do private label. If I'm going to start let me find something. It's actually a sample I bought. I promise I'm not a serial killer. But if I'm going to start selling meat cleavers, you know how much money I'm going to need to be competitive here? $50,000. $50,000, because not only am I going to have to buy a ton of inventory, I'm going to have to lose my butt on the first 3,000 units. I'm going to have to giveaways. I'm going to have to overspend in PPC. Now, if I have $50,000, I can successfully launch this and make money in 1 year. I can. But I can't launch this with $5,000. Mm-hmm. One of my good friends has this product. It's called Wet Sleeve. They patented it. They invented it. It's a sleeve that fits on your forearm. Well, there's a better picture of it. And it's a water bottle. So like for active sporting.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
$70,000. They had to design it. They had to invent it. They had to package it. They had to patent it. And although it's a great product, nobody knows about it. And they're having to overbid on Amazon just to get it launched because nobody knows what a wet sleeve is or a forearm water bottle is. But there are other products that I could I better not. I'm looking at all these products.
I know, looking around the room. Just
there's so much stuff I wish I could tell you. But there are other products that I could start with buying 500 units, double my money on those 500 units instantly, and I'll be the only one selling them on Amazon, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's unfair to say how much money you need because it really depends on the product, the niche, the competitiveness. Some products you need $100,000 to even start. Some products you need $2,500, and you could eventually grow that into something big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely the right way to say it, 100%. A couple more questions, if that's okay. Launching strategies, I appreciate we probably haven't got the time to go into that, but I think it's fair to say you're not part of the giveaway gang and the fake review gang and everything like that. You do it differently.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not part of the fake review gang, but every time I launch something, I find 1 or 2 friends to get me my first 2 reviews.
Yeah.
If people I'm not connected to in Facebook, it's completely random. I just want 1 or 2 reviews, but I'm not putting it on sites. I'm not posting it. Nothing. Is it black hat? Yes, it is. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't go and ask for reviews. But I usually get just 1 or 2 just to get the ball rolling a little bit. As far as giveaways, I don't do giveaways. I don't do rebates. But I do use search, find, buy. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
It's a long topic to discuss, but there is one ranking method that technically is against terms of service from Amazon. Do as I say, not as I do. but it replicates an organic search, and it is so powerful. You only have to do a few, and it's completely hidden. Amazon can't track you. Nobody knows it's happening. And you're replicating the exact steps that Amazon uses to build a criteria of keyword relevancy versus a product.
Mm-hmm.
And you only have to do a few. So on most launches, I'll ask old college buddies, that are not connected to me on Facebook, for 2 reviews, and that's it.
That's a big thing as well. No connection on Facebook as well, which is something that came out. We think. We don't know 100% sure, but we think. That's one thing. And then I'll go and I might do 6 unit giveaway, six giveaways total for Search Find Buy. But generally, I'm finding a product that is in demand with, and you get really good optimized keywords on your listing, and you put up some very simple basic PPC and it starts. Now, you can escalate that massively using off Amazon traffic. I mean, there's a million different things you can do, but generally it doesn't have to be that way. No. Cool.
I'm going to find something just to prove I'm not crazy. I want to show all of you something, if I can find it.
I think this is the quietest I've ever been for like 1 minute on never mind the buy box.
Well, I have to be careful of what I show, but check this out. I'm actually going to have to do a screen grab because I can't show you the name and I can't show the item. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling a screenshot from one of my students that was 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out.
Oh, you're going to pop it in the comments?
No, I'm just going to show you the screen share of what I just popped out. But check this out. Share screen 2. So this is a student of mine. I had to take his name out. He's at 20,000 in sales after only 3 weeks. Okay, 20,000 in 3 weeks. The interesting thing about that, he didn't do a single giveaway. He didn't solicit a single review, and he was only spending about $20 a day in PPC.
Wow,
20,000 in 3 weeks. Now, it wasn't easy. Look, I'm not showing you to say, oh, look how easy it is, because it took him 4 months to find that product. He researched and learned and dug for 4 months. But after 4 months, he hit it. And some people do it a lot faster. Some people a little slower. But once he figured out what he's looking for, he launched this 20,000 after 3 weeks starting. And remember, the first few days are going to be slow. So he's probably going to average $40,000 a month on this first product. He started with $7,000. That's it. He started with $7,000. He's almost out of stock. He's going to have to fight that. But it works. Again, no black hat stuff, nothing. He just found something that people wanted that wasn't on Amazon yet. And now he'll turn around and brand it and all that good stuff later.
And I think that's a key point actually as well, because obviously the thing about arbitrage is you see it and you can see results pretty quickly. It's very front loaded. You buy something, you sell it, and you can flip it in like 5 days. Something like that. Whereas the private label side of things, you guys have to understand that this is a longer process. But obviously, with that type of investment in your time and things like that, the rewards potentially can be much richer.
Like the analogy is you're planting herbs versus planting a fruit tree. I can go out and plant a garden and have vegetables really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a whole lot of lumber and wood from a vegetable, right? From a tomato plant. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take longer to plant an oak tree. But once it starts growing, it gets massive and it's solid and it doesn't move and it doesn't need a lot of care, right? So it's just how much time you want to invest. That's why I love the combination. I have private label students that are getting frustrated because it's taking forever to get their first shipment in after they made it. Go do some arbitrage. Go buy something off a shelf. Start flipping stuff. Come on. You know what you're doing. Get out there and do it. They work both together really well.
And this is most definitely something you can do whilst you're still running your arbitrage business, because it's something that it requires a lot of, in time investment in yourself, obviously. But at the same time, you're not out, scouring the shelves every day like you are with retail arbitrage, or you don't have to get 10 deals a day or something like that. Once the upfront work is done, essentially, yes, it's not passive. I don't want to missell it as being passive income, because of course it's not, but it's like bigger chunks of time, if that makes sense, as opposed to, so if you're doing arbitrage continually, it doesn't take up that same sort of ongoing time that arbitrage does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool. Susan just said very quickly, the search, find, buy. If you have time to just quickly elaborate on that, because these guys never would have heard of search, find, buy. I know you can't go into too much detail because we're on the clock and everything like that, but it's essentially, I know it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah. A good description would probably take me 30 minutes, but essentially what we're doing is we are finding somebody to go and replicate an organic purchase. So instead of saying, hey, here's a link, super URL and like one of those hyperlinks to go buy something on Amazon. If I'm launching, what I'll do is I'll list it. And within a day of listing it, I will have somebody go in and type whatever keyword I want to start ranking for. It might not be meat cleaver. It might be heavy duty meat cleaver, wood handled meat cleaver, right? This isn't one item. This is 50 keywords. All right. 50 keywords represent this product. So what I'll do is I'll determine which keywords I want to rank for, and I'll have someone go into Amazon and type those keywords and literally search. They're going to search, find, and then buy. So they'll search, and it might be on page 9, but Amazon is tracking everything through heat maps. They know that someone who typed wood-handled meat cleaver passed up everything else, picked this one. And then you can do some other manipulation, like put it in your wish list for 24 hours, put it in your shopping cart, come back 48 hours later and buy it. There's a few little things you can do to manipulate, but then you buy it. Now, what I'll do on the back end using PayPal or some other way that can't be tracked, I'll reimburse them for it because they don't want a meat cleaver. I just want them to buy it. But what we're doing is we're actually searching, finding, and buying, and it perfectly replicates an organic process where Amazon goes, oh, for wood-handled meat cleavers, these 2 people over the past 3 days really like this one. Let's start ranking it higher, as opposed to using giveaways and with like super URLs and the shortcuts and all that stuff that's trackable, and Amazon knows it's inorganic. So we are perfectly replicating an organic search, find, buy.
Mm-hmm. And I know someone asked this question earlier, so you definitely, well, I don't know. I'm assuming from what you said with the search, find, buy is that you're going in and you're listing your products at the price that you want to sell. Might have a little bit of a discount to start with, but you're not like slashing the price in order to manipulate the.
I usually don't slash my price at all. Mm-hmm. I keep it right where I want it to be, because if you come in and lower your price, there's actually problems raising it. You can lose your own buy box. There's all sorts of problems, and also, I'm not the cheapest. Mm-hmm. And people don't want the cheapest. All right, if I go to meat, well, hell, now you made me do it. Now I'm going to screen share. Just let's see if I'm crazy or not. I don't think I am. Sometimes I am. But let me pull a screen over here and go to Amazon. Let me make sure nothing crazy comes up on my screen that shows any of my products. Share screen.
Doing that. Oh, just to clarify, guys, as well, thanks to I think it was John that put it up. Actually, it's Marmalade. It's Marmalade, which is the software. And also, I think the US bookkeepers you mentioned, was it Xendoo?
Xendoo, Xendoo. Okay,
cool.
All right, let's see if I'm right. So I'm looking at Meat Cleaver. I'm going to skip all these because these are the sponsored ads. I'm looking at the organic rankings. Check this out. This is rank number 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Mm-hmm. This one's 17, 32, 19, 49. Why is the 49 one number 4 and then the one that's less than half the price here? Right? Why is this 32 have 3,700 reviews and this 17 has 2,200 reviews? It's because people like stuff in every price range, right? You don't have to be the cheapest. I'm looking at the organic listings here, and they range anywhere from $58 lower, right? And if we look at the sales volume, it's going slow because I'm streaming. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Look at this. The one that's $49 is selling 5,000 units a month. This one's selling 8,000, but I promise you this is more profitable for their time.
Mm-hmm.
And this cheapest one is selling less. Oh, these are sponsored. Skip those. Skip those. Ignore what I just said. Let me skip those.
And people are not going to be paying much more per unit, are they, for these types
Well,
of
check
products?
this out. Okay. My point's still made. This one that's more expensive is selling 5,000 units a month. It's at 50. Then this one at 20 is only selling 1,100 units a month.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the way that they do that is good old fashioned selling. All right. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a hack. It's nothing. We're just selling. If they have a better product or even perceived better product, you can sell it for more. So I don't have to come in with cheaper pricing. I come in strong. I pump my chest up and say, I got the best product on the block for this. Buy my stuff. People buy it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's that perceived value. It's always the case. It's, you know, that's the classic example of Primark versus Gucci. The process of making the clothes and everything like that is not that much different. You know, stitching might be a bit more complex or something like that. The materials might be slightly higher end, but when it comes to making the two products, there's not a lot of difference. It's the marketing. It's the way that it's sold. Absolutely. And now we've got the opportunity to be able to do that on Amazon. Whereas before, and they're making it so brand focused. All the stuff that I know about that's coming on the branded side of things, all the changes that Amazon have made in order to reinforce this brand opportunity just makes it, I don't want to say easier, because whenever you use the word easy, someone comes back to you in 2 years' time and said, you said it was easy. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but it's definitely doable. Just a couple more questions, if it's all right, Tim. I know how precious your time is, and you've just, you know, given us so much insight tonight. With regards to building your own brands, Simona's asked, do you use your own capital, or do you leverage other people's capital to build those brands?
So I start with my own, and I like bootstrapping it, because if you're leveraging other people's capital from the beginning, they want equity, and I don't want to give up equity. Now, when I'm ready to scale, once I have a proof of concept, once I have a basis, then I will borrow money for just for inventory. I'm not borrowing money to hire new employees or get a bigger warehouse and all that crap. It's just strictly inventory. And then I'll actually use like sensible, smart lending to borrow money just for inventory.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And finally, and I think this is actually a cool question, actually, and I think I know the answer, or certainly what I would answer, but I'm going to let the expert speak. Do you believe that PL can be a one-man band business as opposed to RA, in order to, when it gets to a point to scale, you have to look at prep centers and you have to do this and you have to outsource your sourcing and all these different type of areas?
It's like asking, what's your favorite color? Or what color is best. It all varies. I know a lot of people that are perfectly happy as a one-man band that are handling everything themselves. They are having stuff drop shipped straight into FBA, so they don't even need a warehouse, or they're using a 3PL. I know other people that are massively involved in outsourcing and hiring agencies and hiring employees. The way I see it is, if I can replace my own time with someone else's, that's the best. So if I value my time at $100 an hour, if I can hire someone for $10 an hour to take an hour from me, then you do it, right? But only do it when you have to. Don't overextend yourself. Don't start trying to hire employees and all that crap if you're not ready for it. But you definitely can, as a short answer, run a very successful private label business as a solopreneur. I know a lot of people that do it day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. And then hopefully in a couple of years, make a 7 or an 8-figure exit. That's the dream. Absolutely. Natalie's asked your podcast. It's the AMPM podcast, which is associated with Helium 10.
It's not exactly associated with Helium 10. It was actually, it
was Manny Coates, wasn't it?
So the podcast was launched by Manny Coates in about 2016. And he was just doing a podcast talking about his journey to Amazon. And he found there weren't a lot of good software tools. So he actually created some free tools within Helium 10 as a free lead magnet to get people to listen to the AMPM podcast.
Wow.
So AMPM podcast was the main thing, and Helium 10 was just a marketing tool. Hey, come use my tools and sign up for Helium 10 or for AMPM podcast. Turns out Helium 10 ended up being the bigger one. So when he exited the company for, oligarch level money, and now Helium 10 is the largest e-commerce software company, I think, in the world, focusing on Amazon. They've had over 1 million users now.
Yeah. No, I saw that. That was quite recently that they hit particular milestone, which is phenomenal. And again, I think it's just another example of Amazon, what Amazon can actually do for you.
Well, that whole story is crazy. And if you really want to hear a crazy story, go listen to episode 195 of AMPM podcast, which is when Manny hands it over to me, because Manny exited the company and the podcast is still getting like 20,000 downloads a month. And they were like, crap, we can't let this die. Who can take this thing over? So the new COO called me, said, hey, Tim, you want a new project? And I was actually taken aback because remember I said in about 2016, I started doing content promoting, like trying to drum up business from my logistics company. You know, my first public appearance on any podcast was the AMPM podcast.
Oh, wow.
So that was the first time I was ever interviewed. It's what really started moving me into more of a public role. And then 4 years later, they call me and say, hey, we want you to take over this podcast. Like I started tearing up. I'm like, the world is such a funny place. Oh my God, yes. And so if you want to hear a crazy story, go listen to episode 195 of AMPM podcast. And 199 was the Lori Barsby, the girl that just sold her business for mad amounts of money.
Absolutely. And soon, guys, I haven't booked the date yet, but I'm going to be appearing on AMPM podcast as well. I know you guys see me all the time anyway, but, you know, we'll put the links in the group and everything like that, just to talk about Amazon from the UK perspective as well, and talk about, you know, Buybot Pro and some cool other stuff as well. Well, Tim, I really don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know how valuable your time is. And thank you so much for, you know, spending the last hour and a bit with us. We really do appreciate it. Just before Tim goes, guys, please give him some love in the comments. I think it's been absolutely fantastic. And one thing I'd like to, you know from everyone that's watching today, because obviously I've made it clear the direction that I want to be able to, you know, the opportunity I want to be able to send people down and open up a few different kind of opportunities for people. But obviously, selling in the US and private label, I'm not an expert in that area. And I've always said, in order for me to teach something, I have to be an expert in that particular area. And I'm going to, you know, it's going to take me a good couple of years to be able to do that. So if I'm going to bring someone in to talk about it, I'll bring the best in. So I would just like anyone in the comments to let me know if you guys would be interested in hearing a little more from Tim, a little bit of a later stage about selling on the US and private label. But not only that, actually, what we haven't discussed tonight, Tim, is that all of your techniques, everything that you teach from selling private label doesn't have to be sold in the US. It's totally transferable to the UK market as well.
Oh yeah. I work with folks all over the world that sell in all markets and all platforms. This is not just an Amazon thing. This is a Walmart thing. This is a Catch thing in Australia. This is just good old fashioned business using digital marketing and the search engine functions that all platforms have that allow us to get data that nobody else is looking at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I can't read every comment, but I can see a load of barrage of comments that come in. I think everyone's definitely interested about hearing more. So I will have a separate chat. And, you know, as Tim said at the start, it was my, you know, wonderful personality that got him to come on. Maybe I'll be able to persuade him to put something together exclusively for the Secret Wealth Project audience. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. And just the last 60 minutes, I think, has been really illuminating for people. So hopefully, if you didn't know who Tim was, you know now.
Well, I wish we had 4 hours because I'd love to just keep the way I like to show people stuff is screen sharing. And I wish I could spend just 4 hours just screen sharing all these crazy little things. But the world's not that simple, I guess. But maybe one day.
Absolutely. I think we're both definitely chatters. And if we had our choice, we'd be on here till midnight. I know these guys would be up for it, definitely, but I think we'd just be like or something like that. But we'll have a chat. We'll have a get together, and we'll see what we can put together for these guys. I think 100% is definitely going to be something that they're going to be interested. But thank you so much for joining us this evening, Tim. We really, really do appreciate it. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Gold nuggets here, there, and everywhere. You know, knowledge bombs we call them in the UK. I don't know if you have the same phrase.
We're cousins. We use the same phrases, Natalie.
There we go. Knowledge bombs and gold nuggets all over the place. Thank you, Tim. I've said it about 4 times, so I'm going to go. See you guys next week, 7 o'clock, same place, different guest, and I can't remember who it is on next week, but whoever it is, they've got to follow Tim. So sorry. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye.